Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War / Defense, is trying to save his proverbial butt, politically speaking, amid a report by the Washington Post last week that he had verbally authorized the first drone strike against an alleged drug boat off the coast of Venezuela on September 2nd. So the Washington Post reported on Friday that Hegseth had told people in the room to, quote, kill them all. In the immediate aftermath of the reporting on that story, Hegseth, as well as White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt, vehemently denied the story was accurate. Well, it turns out it might have been more accurate than they were saying. What a surprise. The reality of the situation, as has been made clear both by Leavitt's press conference on Monday, as well as what Hegseth had to say at the big Trump cabinet meeting on Tuesday, is that the reporting sounds right, is right, and they are trying to find a scapegoat so that Hegseth doesn't lose his job. I want to go through just quickly what he said about the strikes. Now, if you're unfamiliar, here's what happened. There was a drone strike authorized by Hegseth, no one doubts that, on September 2nd that struck an alleged drug boat carrying drugs and narco terrorists, in the words of this administration. It struck. 2 people on the boat lived after the first strike. A second strike was then ordered, which killed the 2 of them. Hegseth has said today in the cabinet meeting that it was, quote, the fog of war. Like it was too complicated, couldn't figure out, the boat was on fire, couldn't see, and that he, quote, didn't stick around, end quote, after that first drone strike. He is saying that the guy who authorized it was Navy Vice Admiral Mitch Bradley, and that Hegseth, didn't do it, Mitch Bradley did it, and he's broadly defending Mitch Bradley and saying like, well, he had the authorization to do it. I'm going to tell you why I think that's important and why Hegseth and the White House is scrambling like they are in a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to give you 2 words, and it's going to explain why you need to subscribe to this channel in particular. Word 1, independent. I'm independent from big media, no corporate ties. I am independent also from the 2 political parties. I'm not a Republican, not a Democrat, don't favor either one. I am also, I hope, authentic in that I'm always going to give you my honest, unvarnished opinion of what's going on in the world of politics. I'm not going to pull punches. I'm not going to do fan service. I'm not going to do fan fiction. I'm never going to tell you something just because I think it'll make you subscribe. You may agree with me. You may disagree with me. You're going to disagree with me. I think that's a good thing. And I think that's why you should subscribe. Okay. Why is Hegseth doing what he's doing? Well, if you followed anything about this administration over the first 10-ish months, Hegseth has been a little bit of a disaster. He was involved in Signalgate, the accidental inclusion of Atlantic editor-in-chief Geoffrey Goldberg on a chain planning a series of bombings against in Yemen. Hegseth was involved in that, sharing operational details of that. Mike Waltz, who at the time was the national security advisor, wound up losing his job because of it. Hegseth hung on. Hegseth has had a number of controversies about his drinking and his relationships with women. He survived that during the confirmation hearings, but they continue to percolate. And then there is the fact that Hegseth has undergone or put in place a massive purge of the Pentagon press corps, essentially kicking out any credible outlet and instead putting in people who are just MAGA acolytes and pretending that they're the media. He is really engaged in a war with the media that would put Donald Trump to shame. So you add all of that up and you think, when people would ask me, who's the cabinet secretary who's going to be next to go, I would always say Hegseth even before this, just because that aggregation of bad news and bad headlines, Donald Trump doesn't like bad headlines. He does not like when people who work for him get him bad headlines. And in this case, Hegseth is at the top of that list for getting him bad headlines. So I always thought one more thing might topple Hegseth. And this, the controversy over what he knew, what he ordered, when he did it, is very much the sort of thing that Donald Trump is not going to like. Trump was asked about Hegseth in this second drone strike on September 2nd when he was flying back from Mar-a-Lago on Sunday night. He basically gave a very lukewarm response. He said, I don't know anything about it, which would be weird. The president of the United States doesn't know when the American military is being used to conduct a strike that killed people in a foreign country, but okay. I don't know anything about it. And that Pete Hegseth told him that uh, that he had not, in fact, ordered that second drone strike that killed those 2 survivors after the first one. I mean, okay, it's kind of weird if you don't know anything about it, but then you also know that Pete Hegseth told you about the specifics of the drone strike, but that's neither here nor there. But Trump was then asked, would you have authorized that second drone strike? And Trump said, no, I wouldn't have. Okay, well, that immediately, if I'm Pete Hegseth, I'm like, what? That sets off the spidey senses, the Pete Hegseth spidey senses. So, because that is at a point where you're like, oh, this could be bad for me. So I think what Hegseth has done with a very strong assist from Karen Leavitt at the White House press podium is to say, well, he authorized the first strike, and then there was the fog of war, and that he didn't stick around. Again, Hegseth's words, he didn't stick around for the second strike. But it's fine that this Admiral Mitch Bradley did it because he was within the bounds of doing it. But hint, hint, and this is not said but implied, if you're looking for someone to take the fall over this, Mitch Bradley seems like a good option and not Pete Hegseth. And that's what's happening here. Pete Hegseth does not want to own this because he knows owning this, it looks really bad. Whether it was legal or not, it looks really bad if there were 2 survivors from an American drone strike who are hanging onto the fiery remains of a boat that were then targeted with a second drone strike that killed both of them, right? I think no one or very few people are like, yes, good. That's a good thing. I'm glad that happened. Hegseth understands that. If he understands anything, he understands how public relations work and how sort of perception can morph into reality. So he is trying to find a way to distance himself from the thing, that second drone strike. He's trying to find a way to distance himself from it and to provide up a sacrificial lamb who, if sort of the establishment decides someone needs to go for this, that it's not Pete Hegseth. He is pushing this Mitch Bradley guy, who I don't think anyone had heard of before 48 hours ago, directly under the bus because he believes it will protect him. Now, will it protect him? Hard to say. If we were in a normal administration, Pete Hegseth would never have been picked as the Secretary of Defense, let's be honest, given his resume. And second, would have probably already been gone for all the controversies that he's weathered. But Donald Trump does not run a normal presidency. And one thing Donald Trump hates is being told what to do by an establishment, whether that's the media or the Republican political establishment, Democratic political establishment, or all of the above, telling him what to do. He hates those people. He doesn't actually hate them. He secretly really cares about them and their judgment on him, but publicly he hates those people, and he doesn't want to look like he's being strong-armed or bullied in any way by them. That is 100% true. And so if there are calls to get rid of Hegseth, that in a weird way might make Hegseth safer because Trump doesn't do what everyone says he should do. That said, there is a limit, there is a limit to Donald Trump's patience. There is a limit to the extent to which he's willing to say, like, I'm not going to do this because other people want me to do it. I think Hegseth has gotten to that point, or he's close to getting to that point. And I think Hegseth, again, a savvy understander of how Donald Trump's mind works, gets that. So I would be nervous if I was Pete Hegseth. I'd be refreshing my Twitter feed, my True Social feed pretty frequently if I was Pete Hegseth. He may well last. I've predicted his political demise before, and he's lasted through December. But this one, I think, given where he started and given the thin ice he's on, this one could cost him. I think he gets it, and it's why he's doing what he is doing. We'll see if it works to convince the public, the press corps, the political establishment, and most importantly, the audience of one who makes these calls, Donald Trump. As I said before, please subscribe. It's free. Just hit that subscribe button. You get an independent, authentic journalist who is always calling balls and strikes, no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. I also hope you like and comment on this video in particular. That helps me grow my following on YouTube for people who aren't already subscribers. Last thing, be an evangelist for me. Tell a few people about why you think this channel matters, particularly heading into 2026, and why you think they should subscribe. If you don't already know about it, we are doing a live stream 7:50 p.m. Tuesday night Chuck Todd, myself, Geoffrey, Skelley from Decision Desk HQ. We're going to do a live stream that will appear on YouTube as well as my Twitter and my Substack. We are going to be covering the election night results from the Tennessee 7 special election where Republicans should win, but it is looking surprisingly competitive. So if you are interested in that, you want to see some smart analysis, smart people, not just me, Chuck, and Geoffrey, we're going to have a great guest. Tune into that. Check it out. I think it'll be fun. We'll go until the race gets called. All right. That's it for me. All right, everyone. Take care.